Hey, everybody. Good evening. Happy Christmas Eve. Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody who's watching. Uh, thank you for being here. Welcome to another episode of the Spotlight series presented by the Black Podcasters Association, where twice a week we shine a spotlight on a Black podcaster, creative, or podcast professional from our online community. My name is Corey Gumbs, and I'm the founder as well as your host tonight. But before we get started, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you can be notified of our next Spotlight event or any of the live events that we do. If you would like to help support us in helping us to create content like this, please make sure you can please buy us a coffee. You can find the link in the description. Again, please make sure you subscribe, like, tap the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on what we're doing here at the Black Podcast Association. Tonight's episode, we would like to welcome the host of Reggie's Expressions podcast. His name is Reggee Socorro-Garner. He's an empath who thrives off of conversation with people that have different perspectives than him. His whole goal of the podcast is to cultivate a safe space for feelings and emotions to be explained. But before, I guess what I'll do now is I'll just hand the floor over to Reggee so he can explain it better, so you guys get a better idea than what I just said. So, Reggee, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your Christmas Eve with us. I really appreciate it. Oh, before we get started, I always do this. I always make this mistake. If you're on Facebook and you would like us to see what comments you're making or who's saying the comment, please make sure you go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give them permission. Again, if you're watching on Facebook, go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give us permission so we can know. We would like to give you shout outs and let people know what comments you're making during the live stream. So please make sure you do that. So now, thank you, Reggee. So with that being said, you have your podcast, Reggie's Expressions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, your podcast journey, and what your podcast is about?
Absolutely. So I want to tell you, thank you so much. You tried to say the name, and I appreciate that. So Socorro, which is my husband's last name, Garner,
Okay.
my last name. So it's a melding of two cultures, which is the reason why I decided to keep, we decided to keep both. So thank you for the opportunity. And I want to tell you, thank you for the just what you've done so far. I've been in this group, I want to say, since mid-year. If I'm not mistaken, and I just love the conversation that you cultivate. Unfortunately, with some of the others, all it becomes is just a bunch of like advertising and, provide me your link and I'll go leave a comment, which is great, but it's not actual information that a lot of us, like myself, need to, feel, number one, validated, and number two, learn some things.
Right.
Things. So I appreciate that. What you read is a good description. I am an empath. I feel everything, and I can, smell a rat a mile away, which makes for a lot of weirdness and awkwardness when I meet people from time to time. But I really found myself wanting to be a part of the conversation. And while I was doing that, I was waiting for somebody to tag me in. I was waiting for somebody to say, hey, man, come on, join this conversation. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I just realized, you know what? I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait for somebody to tag me in. I can create the conversation myself. So that's what I've been spending the last 24 months trying to do. With, my content. If you go back and you listen to season 1, you would notice that I'm all over the place, but, at the same time too, it's a journey. So I stand by those episodes, and, it's more than the idea of just coming on and having something to talk about. It's more than that. And I will say that I've had a lot of growth, and I think it was somebody from your group. I can't remember specifically who it was, but the idea is not that, your numbers is growing. It's about you as a person that's growing. If you hadn't grown during the time frame of you doing this, then, you got something to consider. And I really honestly and truly believe in that. So that's what we try to do over at Reggie's Expressions.
That's dope. I think you said something that was important about empowering yourself to start the conversation. I think that's what podcasting does for a lot of people, but especially for us as Black podcasters, it's important that we feel we utilize this medium to empower us to speak out, to stop waiting for people to have these conversations, because historically that tends to be what we do. We wait for leadership to come in and address issues in our society or issues in our culture, issues in our neighborhoods before any of us decide to act. So that's one reason why I like this medium. It gives people a great opportunity to not have to wait. So how long has your podcast, how long have you been podcasting?
I've been podcasting. Well, good question, because I want to start from the beginning. In 2017, well, number one, I've always been interested in radio, right? So when I was younger, when I remember when I was in high school, I really didn't have any interest in much. So one day, I didn't know I was going to do at all. Mm-hmm. And one day I got up enough courage, because I was just curious. I was always a curious person, to call the local radio station and call one of the DJs. Her name was Candy Brown. That was her stage name. I actually went and looked for her. I couldn't find her. Anyway, I don't know if she's still doing radio, but anyway, we sparked up a conversation, and I just asked questions, and then eventually we forged a friendship, and she was comfortable enough with me to actually ask me to enter the studio. She was like, "Hey, come and hang out with me, one day." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I did. And it was probably one of the best experiences I had had up until that point as a young person. And it really just enamored me with, the things and lessons that I learned, or that I was able to see. She taught me about a program director. She taught me about different positions in the company and what I wanted to be, which was a radio personality. And, she kind of told me the tough road that women navigate. It's not, as common for women, especially in the city of Albany, Georgia. But long story short, she ended up going to a different part of the state, and unfortunately, we weren't able to keep in touch with each other because she went to a different market. So that had invigorated me. I was like, yes, this is it. This is what I want to do. So fast forward a few years later, graduated from high school, went into the military. I was like all over the place. I had a DJ name. It was going to be DJ EJ, which is DJ Eric Jones. And I don't even know where that came from because it's not my name. But that was that. And everybody I talked to, I just told them, that's what I'm going to be. And throughout my military career, I dabbled with the idea of re-enlisting, with being able to do that as a profession, because there's a radio network that is heard nationally. So that didn't work out, mostly because I didn't want to re-enlist at this point, because I had been in for 5 years and I have seen a lot of things and went a lot of places. Mm-hmm. And I was ready to live the civilian life. I got out and I went to Cali, and I decided I was going to, do the radio and TV thing. Didn't really care too much for the TV because there's a lot of stuff to do. And, I focused on radio. And by the time I was getting finished and ready to go, if you were as old as I am, when they said internship, that meant you work for free. Like,
right.
Not like what they do where they give you little stipends right now. You know what I'm saying? They give you a little stipend to, do what you do, at least pay for your gas or whatever. You had to pay your way and experience, the experience. That's pretty much what it was. By the time that happened, I was like 25, 26 years old. So I was a little, late start because I military and then college thereafter. And when it got to the point where I was able to start doing internships, I was like, man, I'm making money over here, in the sales thing. I'm going to try that out and see what happens. Radio, I'm not working for free. Screw that. I don't really care, put that on the back burner and just lived life. And then in 17, I had somebody else that sparked up that conversation again. And I was like, I actually did this in school. But the idea was it was exactly what it is. And this is when Anchor had first came out in like 15 or 16 or something like that. So I had a buddy and I create kind of a podcast type thing. And it was called the Josh and Reggee Show. Shout out to Josh, wherever you may be, sir. I can text him. He's probably somewhere in Florida. But we did it. We did a couple episodes, and we were doing lives before people were actually doing lives like they're doing as frequently as they are.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that we ended up separating because we didn't work at the same job anymore. The job that we worked at kind of transitioned and went to other parts of the, they basically eliminated our position. So he went to a different part of the state and I went to a different part of the state. And I just kind of was a little frustrated with the fact that, I had created this, he had got me all excited, and, we had to end it. And it wasn't like an official, thing. It was like, well, I don't got time, so I can't do it.
Right.
And I felt a little disenfranchised myself, so I didn't continue. And then fast forward to 2019. Oh, by the way, the young lady behind me, the one on the left, right here, right below where my finger is.
Okay.
She passed away. But before she passed away, she said something I try to live true to form now, which is live life on purpose every day and be kind to people. That was within a week of her passing. And that was just something that was just so impactful to me, that I felt like that I needed to carry on her memory in that way, and also, honor her memory, and also do something that I really wanted to do. So fast forward to December of 2019, I got the idea to create, Reggie's Expressions. Yes, I got the idea to create Reggie's Expressions. And my first episode I created, it took me 3 weeks to do.
Okay.
Trying to edit it. And then also it was a very personal one for me too, because it was honoring her memory. It was about a 9-minute episode and it took me 3 weeks to do it, but I wanted it to be somewhat decent. And mid-January, I decided I launched it, and here in last almost 24 months later. So it was just it initially started as something to honor my friend, and then it turned into something that I really started to enjoy later on. So that's the long and short of it. I know that was a long story.
Sorry, man. This is your show. This is about the spotlight's on you, man. It's all about your journey here in podcasting.
I appreciate
hopefully
that.
your story reaches somebody who watches and resonates well with them, because a lot of us have different journeys, but we're all on the same path in this space. So it's okay, man. You don't have to apologize for that stuff.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. And so I did it, and I was very happy with doing it, because I felt like I was living my purpose. And, I at first I was very modest about sending it to people because I was really scared. And I was timid behind oh, well, what if they don't, what if they don't like it? And, whatever the case may have been. But eventually I got into it. I mean, and now I just ended season 4 last week. So
congrats.
Clearly I'm still in it. So,
right.
So
how long is your season? Do you have a set amount, or it just depends on the season?
No, well, this season was tough for me. So I only did 12 episodes because I was tired, Corey. But I normally do 15 a season. Passionate. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm used to doing this myself, so I'm used to reading the comments.
Yeah.
So
it's fine. I try not to, but sometimes the comments I want you to see it, right? See people see why we're in that moment. So
thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. But so I typically do 15 episodes. Typically they're about an hour and 15 minutes. Okay. And I don't know why I decided to do 15, but that was just the magic number. And yeah, that has been the case. Huge undertaking sometimes.
Okay, I want to go back real quick. You said that it took you 3 weeks to do 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people are gonna hear that part, they're gonna listen to it.
What?
A lot of people need to understand. When sometimes when they film a commercial for 30 seconds, it might take months. Mm-hmm. So I don't want people to think that when you're out here making content, you want to make sure it's right where you're ready to do it. So if it took you 3 weeks, it took you 3 weeks. That's fine, especially being as emotional and connected to you as it was. But this is good for people to hear and understand. Like, sometimes you don't have to rush your content. This is your podcast. You get it out when you're ready. When you finally, but you also don't want to take too much time and be like, oh, I need to keep editing. I need to keep doing this. I need to keep doing it, because eventually you won't get it done.
Right.
But that was so. How was that, like, that episode for you? Like, I know you said it took you some time to get out there. You were concerned about people receiving it, but for you, with the nature of the with your friend passing and stuff, how was that for you getting that out, that first episode out?
You finna get me to start crying.
Oh,
So
all
it's
right.
early to
I
show.
mean, if you don't want to, that's
No,
fine.
no, no, no. I
I'm
do,
not
I
that
do,
kind
and
of show.
I
I'm
appreciate you
not
asking.
Oprah or nothing. So
Oh my God! See, no. It was at first I did it, and I didn't know anything about GarageBand. I had zero experience when it came to producing. It was always I always wanted to be the personality, but I never thought about the work involved. So I had to learn GarageBand. I had to go on YouTube. I had to do the YouTube course load, for a semester. And I'm being silly. There's not a course load, but you can find it literally anything on YouTube. Just
yeah,
Google.
right.
So I started to feel comfortable with it, and then the audio that I pulled from her was a voicemail that she did in 2016 because she was very good at making sure she gave people their roses when she was alive. So that year on my birthday, we had communicated with each other, and she, told me happy birthday, and just declared her love and her, sincerity for our friendship, and that was something that was impactful to me because it represented her life and how she lived, and how she was to all people. It wasn't just me. So not only did I wanted to be right for myself, I wanted to be right for her and also be right for her family because it was a huge loss to their family also. So some of the things that went through my mind was the self-doubt. It doesn't sound right. I spent so much time editing it, trying to eliminate the clips, the cuts and things like that. I was trying to add in stuff. And this is before I had the knowledge that I know now in terms of trying to do that. So imagine doing that, having zero experience. And then on top of that, it's your most impactful show to you. And, you have all these, things that you're thinking about to make sure that everything goes well. And, it's just a lot of pressure. And within that 3-week period, I had actually stopped with the audio. I was just like, I can't, because I was starting to get emotional about the clip that I had. And I was just like, I can't really work on this right now because it's just too much. So, I revisited it again in the beginning of January. And, by that time I had a, crash course in using GarageBand. I learned how to rip audio from, video, which I couldn't tell you how I did that now. Ripped audio from the video, and I also really got into editing in terms of the voice quality too, because I did this really dreamy kind of thing for because to me it was like her leaving that message, and then after that kind of morphing into you've seen Rock the Boat with the last part of the video, right? Where she's
I don't remember it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Well, there's a scene where at the end she's in the water and she's morphing up into the air, and you see the visual is you see the sky get dark around her, and as if she's transitioning. So that's what I visualized in my mind that moment to be, and it was just a couple little amateur moments, from she and I. She actually got Keisha Knight Pullum to tell me happy birthday. Rudy from
yeah, I know. Yeah.
got me to tell me happy birthday. So I was just really proud of the episode, and I finally had the courage to put it out, sent it to all my friends and stuff, and they liked it too. So the response from that just kind of invigorated me to continue to do more. So, but I almost didn't want to do it, man. It just got too overwhelming. I think I was just too attached to it at the moment. So
Right, I got you. So I know you say you like to have conversations from different perspectives and create a safe space. When somebody's listening to your show, or when somebody's listening to your show, what kind of conversations can they expect? Because that's a little broad term saying different perspectives.
Yeah.
What can they expect from your show? What kind of conversations?
So to be honest, I actually have to update that because this season, like I said, was very trying. Oh, I was in the Army, Raphael. But this season was very trying because I realize there's some perspectives that I don't want. I don't want a perspective of a racist. I'm just not interested in that. So I will never have a platform to bring them on. But part of and part of the reason why that it was broad of a term is because I didn't know initially when I wrote that. So the kind of conversations that I want to have, or that I envision myself having, or what I think people hear when they hear me, is just a person, an adult male who don't really have his shit figured out, and I have all these feelings and emotions, and I'm just trying to sort through it, and then also using my story to inspire others as well, in terms of like things that I've gone through. Sharing my candidness by not knowing what the hell I'm doing with this podcast, recording shows in my car, you know what I'm saying, on a Bluetooth speaker, imagining how that sounds. And just talking about earlier this year, I lost my mom, right? So long story short, excuse me, I talked about that journey, and I also talked about trauma, unfortunately, I don't really have a close relationship with my family. I'm obviously not gonna go too much because y'all don't want to hear that. It's but I'm not 100%. I'm not close with them at all, and it's because when you level up, and part of me is like, oh, who do you think you are saying that? Imposter syndrome. But when you level up, whether it's emotionally, you start and taking therapy, you actually take stock and inventory in your life. Some of those relationships that are toxic, you're more aware of it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're actually doing the work. So I had a conversation about toxic situations and trying to realize it. But it was just really me just trying to sort my family situation and, figure out my new normal with how I was going to navigate. I also have conversations about COVID, because COVID had, like that junk had just came out when I was going through season 1. So I'm just trying to figure out that. I have conversations about what it's like to be gay in, 2020, which, I'm so glad I'm married. And I also had other conversations I had a conversation with a friend where we were just talking about, him choosing, why he was going to vote for Trump. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, even with that being said, we still, could remain good friends. It was just like, I'm way too passionate about that, so I can't have that conversation with you. But it ended up being a very good conversation because, we ended up in a very overskill thing, because some Trump folks I just shut down. It's like, I'm not interested. Oh, you Trump? Okay, cool. I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's go our separate ways forever. But it turned out to be a really beautiful conversation. So it's the evolution of going wherever it needs to go. But what I found with that is there's no structure. And the unfortunate part about that is, although it's entertaining to some, again, it don't have no structure, and you feel flat at the end. Like, what the hell were we talking about? I know we started here, but how did we get there?
Right.
How do we get to the end?
Right.
And what I've learned over the time, because I was just like, man, I'm a free spirit. Just let me do my thing. My talent is talking. I'll be able to cultivate people. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm gonna talk about this, but then, wherever it ends, it ends. But I had a really good buddy, he was like, Reggee, you should probably create an agenda. I was like, nah, man, shit, I'm a free spirit. Agenda, why would I do that? That's crazy. That's gonna impede my artistic view. Nah. And he was like, yeah, man, you should do an agenda. And I was like, nah, man. And then I did an agenda. And then I was like,
that work.
it makes sense to do that. So shout out to George, man. I appreciate you, because he was just like ardent about it. And I was like, well, let me see what he talking about. So that's the kind of conversation. So as broad as that sounds, and I get it, that it's not like honed in on maybe what you were looking for, but it's just a space for Black folks to be Black and be able to have, passionate conversations, or, be able to yell and scream, and, we still leave as boys or sisters and brothers, because at the end of it, you know what I'm saying? We all in this together.
Right. Right.
So
So, it's interesting you brought up the agenda because I'm the same way. Like, let me just I just got to do things how I got to do them, and it's like this week I've been using my journal, just writing ideas stuff and that, and it's like, okay, this helps get you more focused, or it helps you get to your outcome that you really want to achieve easier and better. And I don't like, I like just jumping in and learning as I go along,
right.
right?
Mm,
Because
mm,
it's some kind of instant gratification thing with me. So
yeah.
it's so
I'm with you on
slowing yourself down and saying, hey, you know what, let me really think this out and map this out and figure out what it is I really want to achieve. What problem do I want to solve with this? What outcomes do I want from this is very important. So I'm glad you talked about it. I'm listening to you talk about your journey in podcasting, and it's like I said, it's like we all go down these same paths, right? You're learning as you're going along. You're trying to figure things out. You're making some mistakes here and there. So, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because a lot of people need to hear these stories. They need to realize it's not just pressing record and just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna start a podcast," um, and putting it out there, because there are ups and downs with this, and if you don't execute it properly, it's going to be a lot more downs and ups. So, you know, you know, I mean, the data is there, right? We see people
right.
quit all the time. They start a podcast and a couple episodes later they're quitting. So I really appreciate your perseverance. I mean, you've gone through a lot, man. To get to this point. So season 4, that's big,
Yeah.
and I really want to give you kudos for that. Give yourself a pat on the back. You've moved past the statistics. So
Right.
let me
Yeah.
ask you this though. How has it been received from your audience? Like, how's that journey been?
So it's actually been really good. I know you probably thought I was like, man, I'm in the, but I am kind of in the throes of it too, because being in sales, you look for every month you have a person who's number one. Like, it's undeniable, it's gonna happen. They don't care about the person that's over there doing all the key, metrics and everything that they need to do to maintain and doing the job correctly. Most companies just care about just how many did you do, right?
Right.
And for a long time, I operated in that way, and I operate in that way even still to this day, because it's visual proof of what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you're getting out to people. And very early on, honestly and truly, the reason why I probably only have like 15 episodes per season is because during the season, I would get very disenfranchised. I'm like, man, ain't nobody listening, dog. Why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And I'm a person of words of affirmation, right? That's my love language, and that's my regular life language, right? Okay. So if I'm doing shit and ain't nobody saying nothing, that just leads me to my own devices to think that what I'm doing is not good enough, right? Man, what am I doing this shit for? Ain't nobody listening. I don't understand. I did this episode like 2 weeks ago and I only got 15 listens. But to be honest, it's like, I don't really know 15 people, like that I talk to on a consistent basis. You know what I'm saying? So the reality of it is like, yeah, it's only 15, but at the same time too, how did it get out there? And I don't know that part. So I say all that to say, I think that one thing about podcasts is, especially with new folks, is, we're looking for that sponsorship. We're looking for, that big audience of people. We're looking for folks to ask us to be on their show because we're the talent now, But I mean, the reality of it is it's really just you along the ride a lot by yourself. Now, to put it in perspective, I'm not doing 1.3K listens every episode. That's not realistic.
Not yet.
Right?
Not yet.
Not yet. But I have had some beautiful conversations with people who have indirectly come in contact with the show and said, hey, man, I appreciate what you're doing. First story, my brother, he and I are estranged. We've been estranged for a number of years. I mean, I can surmise what I think it might be, but long story short, we just never been close. So we've always had a distant relationship. I saw him August of 2020, and that was probably the first time in like 13 years. Wow. So the 4th season, which is where I started to feel my momentum. Like I was like, you know what, you have value to this space. You just have to make sure you believe in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. You doing the things, which was all of the things. But, you know, and he called me one night after I got done after it was the community series with Keys Ali. Shout out to Keys. He produced the episode, which I'm forever grateful for. But he called me and he was like, "Hey, bro." I was like, "What's going on?" He was like, "I just want you to know, I know we don't talk all the time, but I see what you're doing and I appreciate it. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're creating a space for people like me who, you know, happens to be in this LGBTQIA plus community, a voice, because I couldn't see myself out here having this conversation. And I love you and I'm so proud of you. And I want you to know that even though I might not comment, I do see what you're doing and I want to, you know, continue to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. So thank you." And I was a ball of tears that night, you know. And up until that point, you know, I was really focused in, you know, in the 1.3K downloads, but I had never considered, you know, how impactful that 1 hour and 30 minutes was without those 15 people. You know what I'm saying? That might go in. Right. So it made me look at success differently. And I would say over the course of this year, you know, kind of bearing my soul as I've done so far. And this is really what you get when you listen to the show, y'all. So, you know, if y'all want to go on over there and listen to it.
Oh, definitely. We're going to promote the show.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, you know, but that was a sign of like, keep doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You might not have whatever it is, you know, that tangible proof that it's a success, but you're reaching people. My husband, he works at Universal, and you know, he gets a plethora of folks at work. They're like, "Oh man, I saw your husband. He did the show. Oh my God, it was another great episode." And you know, I had never considered some things like that. So it's out there. You know what I'm saying? And right. I might not be able to see it so far, but I've been able to cultivate, like, for example, being involved with, you know, Black Podcasters Association. I don't know how I found y'all, but it just came up in my feed and it was like, yeah, absolutely. And it was just really putting yourself in spaces to be noticed. You know, it's not, if you thinking that you're going to have a, you know, how the artists back in the day, well, I was just singing my little tune and, you know, Bobby Brown heard me and then Bobby Brown came and took me to, you know, LA Reid, and that's how I became a star. No, it doesn't happen that way because we have a lot of agency now and we have the ability to be able to do a lot of that on our own, that people aren't looking for us in that same way. Ain't nobody coming and tuning the radio and saying, "Hey, that's a voice I've never heard before. I want to know more." That's how it used to be. Now it's like about putting yourself in spaces that allow people to see you, you know, like being a part of, you know, your network that you've cultivated. So
that's dope. You know, I mean, I like the idea that you had that moment. One is like podcasting kind of healed, you know, I won't say it healed the situation between your brother, but it helped bring you guys closer. So podcasting, just everybody watching, podcasting heals. That's going to be the new hashtag. But no, it's good that it took that moment for you to realize what success was for you, because a lot of people, especially when they first get started, it's downloads, because sometimes they equate downloads with the money that follows through sponsorships and stuff like that, not realizing that the podcast that you're creating is really about creating value for your audience, and that will translate into whatever your goal is as far as that the money goals and stuff like that, or the notoriety, or whatever it is you're seeking through your podcast. So I think that was a really good moment for you. And I'm going to ask, did that change? I know it made you change your perspective, but it also changed the pressure you put on yourself, because sometimes we put these pressures on ourselves to get these goals that we think are our levels of success, not realizing that, you know, we're on that path, because this is an organic growth type of thing, right? You know, you don't have $15,000-$20,000 to put into advertising, right? So we have to take the longer path, maybe initially in the beginning until we get to a certain point to organically grow, which means it really is going to be those conversations where you think nobody's listening, but everybody's listening. Right. So did that help you with, you know, changing your perspective of success? Did that help you with the pressure you were putting on yourself?
A little bit. And I say a little bit because I remember I um, actually every day go into Anchor, which is and I know how much you don't like them.
Oh,
No,
you
you
gotta do what you gotta do, yo.
yeah, there are different options out there, and I respect that. No disrespect to you at all to say that, but I mean, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, so I definitely take what you say, a lot more than I would just some random person. But not initially, and that's also because even with having an epiphany, I still am in sales, and
Mhm.
I still get coached on the idea of not being number one. So it's very easy for me to go into my, Anchor and see that I only have 15 people that listened to the last episode. And it's like, I do rack my brain sometimes, like, what else can I do? What other things? So, but then when I do see myself, when it gets to a certain point and I'm just exhausted, where I'm putting all these, I put all these things, these goals, arbitrary goals that mean nothing to nobody on myself. It's like, Reggee, you remember that conversation you had with your brother? Yeah. Okay. So it's just do the work. You know what I'm saying? And I process stuff in real time. So I say that to say that I give myself the grace to know that maybe I am doing it wrong, but it's paved with the road of good intentions. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I still struggle with that even now. Um, considering I put out my last episode last week and I only have 15 listens. And it's like, I understand, but that's 15 people. More people that I know that, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
at least it's consistent.
but there's some episodes that I've had, like, for example, my friend that passed away, that episode had over, um, almost 200 listens, within the first maybe 6 months, organic, like, and I know I don't know 200 people. I know I got 600 and something folks on my friendship on Facebook, but to interact with them like that, like, no, so it's a feat no matter what, no matter how you look at it. And, you know, um, I also get kind of tied into the whole aspect of like that number next to the live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's only X amount of folks, but then you have people like Raphael, you have people like Steven, you have people like Johnny who, you know what I'm saying, who are listening, and it actually is, influencing them in some way, shape, or form for me to give me more of a peace of mind to know that I'm on the right path too. So it's a work in progress. I'm not completely there yet, simply because I feel like I'm still new. Still, I'm not a newborn, but I'm in my terrible two phase right now.
Right.
So I feel like that's going to continue to be something until I get, to a place of where I have actual tangible, like, what, you know what I'm saying, like tangible stuff to show, hey, this is my growth. So.
Well, see, this is where you say you mentioned about Anchor, right? So this is where I'm gonna put on my producer hat real quick. So
Yeah.
this is where, like, knowing what services you're using is important, because you're using them for free, and they're only giving you a limited amount of information. So it might come for you for your own personal comfort or for how you are, because like you said, you need affirmation, right? That's just how you are. That's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to start maybe deciding at some point, exploring other services that will give you more data for you to be able to say, yes, 15 people, but they're from here, they're here. You might even find out you're like worldwide, and then
Right.
that'll give you some information where you could start really focusing on those type of people, some more demographic data that might help you with that as well. So
Yeah.
that's why I push that, because it's not that Anchor's a bad service. It's just you're limited in the scope of what they give you in regards
This is
to
true.
being able
This
to
is,
make decisions for your podcast as you're growing it.
this is true.
So,
That is 100% true. You were
so
exactly right.
so at some point you have to make, like we all do, because at the end of the day, this is kind of a business,
Mm-hmm.
even though you may not be in it for as a business. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to start making some executive decisions, saying, okay, this is not working. Let me pivot here. Let me see what tools are out there that'll help me take it to the next level. Do I
Mm-hmm.
need to start investing in marketing? Maybe that first episode is what you need to market, right? To get people to come in and listen.
Mhm.
I don't know, like that's a whole nother conversation, but
Right.
I think it's important. I like that. I like you being transparent, because that's one of the things with the group. I try to keep things transparent. We're all in this together. We're all working together. We're all learning together at different rates in different places, but we're all learning together and helping each other. And the fact that you're showing your journey is like really big to me. I'm really enjoying learning about your story. So I know we've interacted before outside of this, so I'm sitting here like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm going to try to catch some of your episodes. I hope people who are watching and listening are definitely going to try to listen to some of your episodes, so that it's not 15 anymore. But I think the 15 number is good, because at least you see it's more consistent, and you have people listening.
Right.
There's some people out there that have no one listening, so
Yeah.
it's something to start. It's a stepping stone, right? It's that first step. So now you have something that you can build on. So there's different avenues you can take in regards to that space to really grow that listenership.
And I think I also have to understand that some episodes, depending on, it's like what Erica Badu said in Tyrone, keep in mind I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So I'm passionate about it. So I think that's a great episode. And it might not be it might not be to them enough to,
Right.
continue to listen all the way through. And I just have to make sure that I understand that it ebbs and flows. Shout out to George again. It ebbs and flows. And I know I see a lot of cliches, man. It's just
You're a salesman.
yeah, man. I know I'm noticing that now. Like, Reggee, can you stop with all the cliches? Come on.
It's your expressions, bro. It's your expressions.
Yeah, exactly. But it ebbs and flows, and sometimes you might think it's hot shit, and it's not shit. So
Well, I think that's where you're saying what the agenda part comes in, right? Because, and I think that's the other thing we have to accept, is that not every episode is for everybody, and it's just not possible, right? It's not possible. Even some of the podcasters before I got started doing this stuff that I used to just listen to, I didn't listen to every episode, because some episodes was, like I used to watch Joe Rogan. I only watched Joe Rogan when he had scientists on there. I didn't watch it for anything else.
Right. Okay.
Or if somebody who I like, I would go watch it, but that was real far and in between. So
Gotcha.
it's not for everyone. So we kind of have to manage our expectations with that, right? So somebody's going to see Erica Badu. For some people, she's a turn off. For other people, they're fans, or some other people are just indifferent. So
it's true.
It's important that we manage that part and just come to that realization, and really, especially since the nature of your podcast is the way it is. It's not like you're talking about. It's not like it's a mechanic podcast, right? It's not like you're really specific on your topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's good. I think having it loosely like how you have it, but really focusing on an agenda for that episode, it's going to pay off. You just keep
it's so easy to do. I don't know why I was so against it, but I was just like, I'm an artist and I need to free. But it really, to be honest, it became not therapeutic, but it just made it easier for me to focus on a specific topic.
Right.
So, I'm a fan of agendas. So I'm completely on board.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting how we just push back on something that we know can help us. And sometimes, like myself in my mind, I'm like, it takes too much time.
Yeah.
Right? When I was learning programming and stuff,
yeah.
They say write out the code before, do all of that stuff. I need to get on my laptop and, be like in the movies, just start thinking it. And then, you hit a bug and then you spend 2-3 days on it. When I started actually practicing writing out my code before I actually type it, I'm realizing that the process is way shorter. And I'm like, see, you got to start listening to these people, because they're not, maybe they're not being open and honest completely, or just being upfront. Like, you need to do this for X, Y, and Z.
Right. True.
But you're doing it and you're like, oh, okay, I see why you told me to do that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's for me. That's what works for me. I'm hard-headed like that. Like, you could like Corey did, and I got to learn the hard way. So, but I'm also recognizing it about myself too. So
yeah.
So like, what are you? We're going into 2022. What are your plans? Have you sat down and really figured out what your next season is going to be, or what your goals are for next season or next year is going to be? What do you want to try to accomplish?
I'm gonna just wing it, man. So I mean,
No,
just
man, we just finished talking about agendas, man. Come on.
everything I just said.
Come on, man.
No. But it's man. Why you have to ask me a hard question? So I have been thinking about it. I have been marinating on it. But to be honest, I have not considered it. Not considered it. That's not true. I have been thinking about it, but I don't have anything tangible just yet because I am I'm tired, Corey. I'm tired. And but what, and it's gonna be so basic. Please don't roast me for this shit, please. But I'm gonna focus on growth. I also want to take on trying to get sponsorships too. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but that's something that I'm looking into. And I've actually started a business. I created an LLC not too long ago, and
congrats.
Thank you. And I'm actually gonna delve into officiating weddings because I do want to remain a what do you call it? Consistent in the LGBTQIA plus community. I feel like that is definitely a space that not a lot of Black men feel comfortable in because it's a very white space.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? When I go and when I type up gay, the first thing I see is a gay white man and then a racially ambiguous dark-skinned guy. You don't see a lot of men that look like me, right? Or that had a different path of journey that didn't necessarily, figure out that they were gay until later on in life. And, they get scrutiny from friends and family who, well, you should have your life planned at this age and this point. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not the same as, it's not the same as what our parents did. You know what I'm saying? They were like, hey, this is a girl. You're going to marry this girl. You're going to be with her for about 20, 40 years until either you die or she die. Now there's so many avenues and ways to live life. And I kind of want to, continue to delve into that. So I'm actually an ordained minister. So if you guys are ever in Florida, you can definitely come down here and get married. By Socorro-Garner Productions, Reggee. And I'm also a notary as well. So I know it seems like I'm putting a lot on my plate, but honestly, this is really so I can put more into, being able to take more courses, with podcasting and actually kind of, go to some of those conventions that exist, as well, to continue to grow and expand. So it's a very loosely based situation that I'm thinking about, Corey.
Okay.
But I feel confident in myself because I've seen my growth in the last 24 months, and I do feel like I can cultivate that going forward. But I'm pretty sure I'll probably be sitting down with you, because you do have value in that space in terms of things that I can do. I think one of the things that you said that we talked about was doing a block recording.
Yes.
I'd never considered that before.
Batch recording, yeah.
Batch recording, sorry.
Yeah.
That I'd never considered that before because I'd be like, I'm gonna do it every week. But sometimes that can be exhausting. And I might not have the same amount of time today that I did, that I will 3 weeks ago. So, it's okay to do a couple episodes here and there, maybe 2, 3, 4, however I figure out doing it. But I wish I had more to.
That's fine. That's not something you just wake up one morning and just write it all down, right? It's something you got to figure out. So I'm trying to figure out for myself as well.
This is the first week I have not had a show. So.
Okay. Yeah, so you need a break. You're on vacation.
Yeah, I'm tired.
My bad. I didn't mean to ambush you. But I think you said something important, like the batch recording part, right? And the fact that you keep letting us know you're tired. The mental health part of this is important that we have to really be aware of as well, because it can be stressful at times, especially when you're trying to figure out content and just keep up that level, that standard that you have for yourself, for your audience. So take your break. You can let us know later about your goals and stuff, or might even be an episode for you, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I know it's getting late, but and it is a holiday, and I want you to be able to go enjoy your time with your husband. I'm just going to wrap up real quick, but I have one more question before we get into how people can reach out to you and learn and learn about your show and stuff. How do you determine what topics you're going to talk about? Because it's not a set show, but a set set objective, what is your how do you figure that out? Like, what's your process?
So I put a whole bunch of topics in a hat, and then I just pick one, and I'd be like, "Dad." No, that's not it. That's not it at all. I'm very. I do a lot of self reflection. So what I do, pretty much at the week's end of that episode or that show that I've done, I kind of look and listen. I also, take on, uh, current events and stuff like that that can also influence certain things. But how I actually come up with the topic is I think about a reoccurring thing within that week. I'm like, what is something that's speaking out to me that I want understanding for, or what is something that's speaking out to me that I want to talk about. And so it's kind of that it is life influencing my art and my definition of what what I want to put out there. And so it isn't this formulaic kind of thing, like, all right, topic this, week 1, week 2, week 3. It all depends on what I'm going through at that time. That really kind of influences it. But I will say the last few episodes on the last season was just me really focusing on people who I thought were pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? For example, Teresa Clay, really cool young lady. Miss Pinky. And I took your advice on what you told me to do on that one, so I appreciate you, because that worked.
Oh, wow.
Miss Pinky, there was a gamer, a black gamer that I had that I talked to at the beginning of the season. Not beginning of season. It was a couple seasons back that I talked to that was really dope, really cool to talk to. So it really just was like shooting my shot in they DMs and saying, "Hey man, you busy? I really like what you do, but can you also do my podcast?" So that's really the crux of it all. Just kind of, I just wanted to focus on us a little bit more, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm all things black, man, and I feel like a lot of the conversations out there that we have aren't really geared to us, but we exist in these spaces. You know what I'm saying? So the idea is, it's kind of like people have these conversations. Well, this really ain't for you. But in reality, we influence the culture more than we influence the culture, man. So, I want to be a representation of the culture and show that I exist. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I'm going to continue to do, along the way. So maybe, hopefully, if you're open to it, I'll be able to have you on the show at some point.
All right, we can talk about that.
You're a busy man, so
like this thing out here is really, this has been like for a lot of people, the streaming space. I didn't plan on being here. I didn't plan on doing this, and it's been about a month and a half now since I started it, and going on 2 months actually. And I'm getting comfortable with being in the spot. I've always been the behind the scenes person, so I'm going to take you up on your invitation though. I just got to get myself ready for that moment. So.
No, I understand. You're a busy guy. You do a lot. You know what I'm saying? I definitely I see what you're doing, black man, and I appreciate you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I'm not just saying that. So I appreciate what you're doing. I sympathize with you a lot, because you ultimately want to be successful, and I want you to be successful. So if I can represent in any way, shape, or form, I definitely want to try to do that, because I do look up to you and a lot of the people that are in that group, simply because a lot of you guys have a wealth of knowledge, and I just don't claim to be the most. I'm not a genius, and I don't have it all figured out. And I think the easier it is that you figure that out and understand that you don't have it all figured out, the better it's going to be for you to be able to take in whatever is coming your way. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it, man. That's just like you, the affirmation stuff. Sometimes you're doing things, you're putting all this time and effort, you're trying to figure out how things work. And that was always been my tug of war I've had with myself since I started the group. It's like, people are not really responding. There's times when I'm like, I'm going to quit, shut it down. And then I hear words like you when I meet with you guys one-on-one, and You're like, oh, I love what's going on. I love what's going on in the group, and I'm like, all right, I got to keep this going. It's not even about me anymore. It's about what's going on in the actual community. So I really appreciate that, man. I'm glad to have you in the group. I'm like, I tell everybody, I'm glad to have you guys because there is no community without you guys, and there is no group. Even in your experience, like talking about your experience here, is going to help somebody who is looking to get started or who may be feeling like how you were feeling at those moments and trying to figure things out. And hopefully, please watch it because this will be inspirational for you. Even sometimes when you're already advanced, we tend to forget where we came from. Sometimes you need a reawakening moment. So that's why I like these conversations and talking with you guys, because all of you guys have different perspectives and different paths and journeys and different views, but we all feel the same way. We need a space for ourselves where we need to be able to express how we see things from our own cultural experience as well as personal experience. So I really appreciate it. I guess let's get into how people can listen to the show, how people can reach out to you if they would like to be a guest or would like to talk to you about, or even suggest topics or just whatever. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate that. Real quick, shout out to Nick. I actually sent Nick Hostile Therapy a link to join, and he's actually in the group now. So shout out to him.
Okay.
Thank you for joining because it's cool people up in there. And he and I bounce off ideas off of each other often. So where you can find your boy, it is Reggee's Expressions, and that's spelled Reggee 'S Expressions on Facebook. And you can find me not Instagram. I'm sorry. You can find me on Instagram, but not Instagram. You can find me on YouTube at Reggie's Expressions, Reggee 'S Expressions podcast on YouTube as well. And then on Instagram, which is becoming really a space where I'm cultivating an audience, and that's Reggee Reggee_Expressions on Instagram. You can find me on Anchor as well. You can also find me on pretty much all of your podcast platforms. Apple, which is where I listen. Well, not where I listen, but I'm an Apple head, so I kind of
same here.
Yeah. So you can, Reggie's Expressions. Again, it is spelled Reggee, not IE. A lot of folks do IE, and I have that under my search engine where if people type in Reggee, it will pop up Reggie's Expressions. So I got that on lock too. But yeah, those are the places that you can find me, and you can hit me up there for any topics that you guys have. I like to interact with folks a lot. So, when people DM me, I'm pretty quick about responding, because I ain't got nothing but time. Even when I'm doing work, I can, do it, which is probably why I'm so tired, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, those are some of the ways, please. And thank you for listening so far, y'all.
And if they want to become a guest or they want to try to bring you on their show, they can also reach you through the DMs, correct?
Right. You can reach me through DMs, and I periodically post on your stuff, your page as well, Black Podcasters Association, which I was calling Black Podcast Association. So I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. As long as you're not calling what Bethany calls it, we good.
What did she call it?
Black ass podcasters.
Oh, yeah. I like that. But...
Oh my gosh. So I was asking people in the group, what should we call ourselves? Like what kind of, the pod squad or something like that. She comes out of the blue with that, and you're like the fourth person said they like that. So.
But yeah,
I would encourage her, but so that's great. So if you guys want to check out Reggee, make sure you go to his social media accounts. You can reach out to him with topics, and if you want to be a guest or you want to have him be a guest on your podcast, because that's another thing about our organization, our community. I want you guys to collaborate. I want you guys to work with each other. Share yourselves amongst each other's audiences, because that's a great way for you guys to grow as well. So make sure you guys, if you've been paying attention tonight, make sure you reach out to Reggee. I have a strong feeling he'll be a great guest, and you'll be a great guest on his show as well. So make sure you guys do that. Who's gonna say something?
I think I found Teresa from Black Podcasters Association. I think I found her. She posted in there saying that she would be a guest, and I reached out to her, and then
I try to keep up with everybody's names. It's almost 2,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of folks. I get it, but
I struggle with names, faces. I remember y'all faces all day long. Right. The name part, I'm like, So
well, I'm Reggee.
All right. I'm glad you guys found each other in the group, which is that's great. You know, that's what that really is the part I like to hear. So, because I'm not privy to what's going on with everybody in the group. So knowing that you guys are reaching out and collaborating is it's wonderful because I try to create that environment.
You do.
You
I
guys do
appreciate
that.
it.
So, again, Reggee, thank you. Thank you for spending your Christmas Eve with us. Brain fart just now, but really appreciate your time. Really appreciate learning more about your story. Um, I'm just going to close out real quick and then we'll go enjoy the rest of our holiday. So thank you guys for checking out the Spotlight. Make sure you tune in next week for our next show on Tuesday, December 28th at 12 p.m., where we're going to spotlight another one of our Black Podcasters Association members. He's a podcast manager and editor. His name is Sean Reed, and he's owner of Platinum Podcast Editing. And before you go, make sure, again, if you're watching this on YouTube or any of our social media platforms, make sure you like, subscribe, tap any notification bells or whatever whistles you have to let you know when we're going on live. And if you'd like to keep supporting us and help us create content like this, go in our description and click on that link that says buy us a coffee. Whatever support you can give, we really appreciate it. So again, guys, thank you for joining. Enjoy your holiday. Again, Reggee, thank you. And I will talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.